Welcome to W Global. In this video, we delve into the top 10 most racist towns in America for 2024 vertical bar worst places. Racism remains a pressing issue, affecting communities across the United States in profound ways. From economic disparities to social injustices, these towns represent some of the most challenging places for people of color to live. Our in-depth analysis covers historical context, current incidents, and statistical data to provide a comprehensive view. Join us as we uncover the harsh realities faced by residents in these towns. Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's start a conversation on how we can work towards a more inclusive future. Number 10. Waterloo-Cedar Falls, Iowa. Waterloo-Cedar Falls, Iowa is known for its large social and economic disparities along racial lines, making it one of the worst places for Black Americans to live. A 2018 study by 24/7 Wall Street found that the Black unemployment rate in Waterloo is over 5 times that of white residents. Additionally, only 32.8% of Black residents own their homes compared to 73.2% of white residents, highlighting significant economic disparities. Black students in Waterloo face higher dropout rates and lower academic achievement compared to their white peers. Healthcare access is limited for Black residents, contributing to higher rates of chronic illnesses and lower life expectancy. In 2021, derogatory terms were used against Waterloo East High School girls basketball players during a game, highlighting the ongoing racial bias in the school system. Waterloo's cost of living is relatively low, with an average monthly rent of $800 for a one-bedroom apartment, but economic disparities make it challenging for minority residents to meet these costs. Waterloo's racial issues are significant, affecting all aspects of life for its minority residents. Number 9. Harrison, Arkansas. Harrison, Arkansas has a long history of racism, from its days as a sundown town to its current reputation as a hotspot for white supremacist activity. Previously known as a sundown town where Black Americans faced threats of violence if they were outside after dusk, Harrison has also been home to numerous white supremacist organizations. The city is still predominantly white, with 94.13% of its population identifying as such. The few Black residents face significant economic challenges, with nearly 100% living below the poverty line. Visitors to Harrison are greeted by controversial billboards that read, "White Pride Radio" and "Anti-racist" is a code word for anti-white, reflecting the city's ongoing racial tensions. The Harrison Community Task Force on Race Relations is working to address the city's racist history and promote inclusivity. Harrison's cost of living is low, with an average monthly rent of $700 for a one-bedroom apartment, but economic disparities make it challenging for minority residents to afford these costs. Harrison's racial issues are deeply ingrained, but efforts are being made to address and reform these disparities. Number 8. Milwaukee, Waukesha, West Allis, Wisconsin. The Milwaukee-Waukesha West Allis metro area in Wisconsin is one of the most segregated regions in America, with significant racial disparities. Milwaukee is the second most segregated city between Black and white populations in the United States, with a long history of racial tension. A survey by Suffolk University found that 80% of Black residents rated the city fair or poor, while most white residents rated it excellent or good, reflecting significant economic and social disparities. The metro area has higher rates of maternal and infant mortality, chronic illnesses, and disabilities among Black residents compared to white residents. Black and Hispanic students face higher dropout rates and lower academic achievement compared to their white peers. The cost of living in Milwaukee is moderate, with an average monthly rent of $1,000 for a one-bedroom apartment, but economic disparities make it challenging for minority residents to meet these costs. Milwaukee's racial issues are deeply rooted and pervasive, affecting all aspects of life for its minority residents. We want to hear from you. After learning about the challenges faced in these towns, share your thoughts. Comment "End Racism Now" to show your support for addressing racial disparities and promoting equality. Number 7. Naperville, Illinois. Naperville, Illinois is known for its affluence, but it also has significant racial disparities and incidents of overt racism. In 2019, black patrons at a Naperville Buffalo Wild Wings were asked to move because a white patron felt uncomfortable. In 2020, an Asian resident was called a roving carpetbagger during a council meeting reflecting ongoing racial tensions. Census data shows that the poverty rate for black residents is almost 3 times that of white residents. The city also has policies that hinder businesses owned by people of color, exacerbating economic disparities. Minority residents face limited access to health care, higher rates of chronic illnesses, and lower life expectancy. Naperville's cost of living is high, with an average monthly rent of $1,500 for a one-bedroom apartment, making it challenging for minority residents to afford these costs. Naperville's racial issues are significant, with economic and social disparities affecting minority residents. Number 6. Racine, Wisconsin. Racine, Wisconsin has a severe racial divide, with black residents facing significantly higher incarceration rates and economic disparities. Black residents in Racine are 12 times more likely to be imprisoned than white residents, highlighting the racial bias in the criminal justice system. The racial disparities extend to education, with students of color at Racine Lutheran High School frequently reporting harassment and discrimination, with little action taken to address these issues. Census data shows that black families in Racine have an average income of $26,880, less than half of the $63,507 average income for white families. Healthcare access is also limited for black residents, contributing to higher rates of chronic illnesses and lower life expectancy. Racine's cost of living is moderate, with an average monthly rent of $900 for a one-bedroom apartment, but economic disparities make it challenging for minority residents to meet these costs. Racine's racial issues are pervasive, affecting all aspects of life for its minority residents. Number 5. Peoria, Illinois. Peoria, Illinois faces significant racial tensions, with public figures openly expressing racist sentiments and policies that disadvantage residents of color. In recent years, Peoria has seen several high-profile racist incidents, including a fire chief using a racial slur on camera and a racist Facebook post by an insurance company president. The city is divided between its white population and residents of color, particularly in the South Side, a low-income neighborhood reserved for residents living below the poverty line. The median family income for Southside residents is less than half that of the city's average, highlighting significant economic disparities. Minority residents in Peoria face limited access to health care, higher rates of chronic illnesses, and lower life expectancy compared to white residents. However, there is hope for change, as Mayor Rita Ali has welcomed efforts by the Joint Commission on Racial Justice and Equity to promote racial justice within the city and county governments. Peoria's cost of living is relatively low, with an average monthly rent of $800 for a one-bedroom apartment, but economic disparities make it difficult for minority residents to afford these costs. Peoria's racial issues are significant, but efforts are being made to address these disparities and promote equity. Number 4. Trenton, New Jersey. Trenton, New Jersey, the state capital, is plagued by racial profiling and systemic racism that impacts its residents' daily lives. In March 2022, Jajawan R. Henderson, an unarmed black man, was shot and paralyzed by Trenton police officers, exemplifying the racial profiling issue within the city. Racism in Trenton is systemic, affecting housing, employment, and health care. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Hispanic residents were more likely to contract the virus, and black residents were more likely to die from it, highlighting significant health disparities. The economic divide in Trenton is also pronounced, with black and Hispanic residents facing higher unemployment rates and lower median incomes than their white counterparts. Limited access to healthcare contributes to higher rates of chronic illnesses and lower life expectancy among minority residents. Trenton's cost of living is moderate, with an average monthly rent of $1,200 for a one-bedroom apartment, but economic disparities make it challenging for minority residents to afford these costs. Trenton's racial issues are deeply rooted in its institutions, making it a difficult place for minority residents to thrive. What do you think about the racial issues in these towns? Comment "I'm aware" if you recognize the challenges faced by minority residents in places like Naperville, Racine, Peoria, and Trenton. Your engagement helps us shed light on these important issues. Number 3. Fresno, California. Fresno, California is not only one of the largest cities in the state, but also a hotspot for racial tensions and disparities. Over the past 2 decades, Fresno has seen over 268 reported hate crimes, with the majority being racially motivated, making it one of the most racially charged cities in California. The city is divided into North Fresno, predominantly white, and South Fresno, home to communities of color. This division is reflected in income, property values, and quality of life. Only 13.76% of white residents live below the poverty line, compared to 33.19% of black residents and 28.02% of Hispanic residents. Former Mayor Alan Autry described Fresno as a tale of two cities, highlighting the stark contrasts in living conditions between the North and South. Residents in South Fresno have less access to health care, higher rates of chronic illnesses, and lower life expectancy compared to those in the North. The cost of living in Fresno is relatively low, with an average monthly rent of $900 for a one-bedroom apartment, but economic disparities make it difficult for minority residents to meet these costs. Fresno's racial divide is evident in its economic, health, and social disparities, making it a challenging place for people of color. Number 2. Rochester, New York. Rochester, New York may be known for its cultural festivals and educational institutions, but it also harbors deep racial divides that significantly affect its residents. In July 2022, a wealthy couple in Rochester threw a racist party, highlighting the ongoing racial issues within the city. According to ACT Rochester, African American children in Rochester are over 4 times as likely to live in poverty compared to white children, and Latino children face poverty rates more than 3 times that of white children. Life expectancy also varies dramatically by race, with research from the Rochester Area Community Foundation showing that black residents have a 46% chance of dying before age 65, while for Latinos it's 52%, and for white residents it's only 26%. These disparities are mirrored in unemployment rates and median incomes, where black and Latino populations face significant challenges. The cost of living in Rochester is moderate, with average monthly rent for a one-bedroom apartment around $1,000, but the economic divide makes it difficult for minority residents to afford even these costs. Rochester's racial issues are deeply rooted and pervasive, affecting all aspects of life for its minority residents. Number 1. Danville, Illinois. Danville, Illinois has a deeply rooted history of racism that dates back to the 1800s. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the town was notorious for its racially motivated riots and violent confrontations, such as the infamous 1883 Danville riot, which resulted in numerous deaths. Fast forward to 2022, and racism remains prevalent. In May of that year, protesters displayed a White Lives Matter sign, coinciding with a racially motivated shooting where 13 people were targeted in a predominantly black neighborhood supermarket. The city's census data reveals stark racial disparities. While 75% of white families own homes, only about 31% of black families do. Additionally, nearly 50% of the black population lives below the poverty line compared to 20% of the white population. Personal experiences further illustrate the racial climate, with a visitor reporting on TripAdvisor that they were denied service at a local inn because of their race. The economic gap is also evident, as black residents face higher unemployment rates, lower median incomes, and less access to healthcare and education compared to their white counterparts. Despite efforts by some community members to address these issues, Danville remains a place where racial tensions and disparities are deeply ingrained. The cost of living in Danville is relatively low, with an average monthly rental price of around $700 for a one-bedroom apartment. But economic disparities make it challenging for black residents to afford these costs. Thank you for watching W Global's exploration of the top 10 most racist towns in America for 2024 vertical bar worst places. It's crucial to recognize and address these deep-rooted issues to foster change and promote equality. If you found this video insightful, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more eye-opening content. We value your opinions, so don't forget to leave a comment and share your thoughts on how we can combat racism in our communities. Together, we can raise awareness and inspire positive action. Stay tuned for more from W Global.